Hello, I'm Josh Stewardson. I'm 27 years old and I live in the Windermere in the English Lake District. I've been riding since I was 6 years old but wasn't actually lucky enough to have my own pony, so I rode at all sorts of different riding schools in our area, as well as for family friends. Anywhere I could get a ride on a pony I was there, but most of all rode at Bigelow Hall Equestrian Riding School, which is at Newry Bridge, which isn't far from us. So when I was 15 years old, I'd grown too tall for the riding school ponies and it was time for me to move on. Although the riding school were great in trying to get me as much experience on the bigger horses as I could, it just became a natural breaking point. So my mum and dad had a friend called Helen who had a horse called Toba who had previously evented to intermediate level, but it was time for him to step down and show somebody else the ropes, and I was the lucky kid that got that. So Toba came to live with us. I had him on a livery yard, and he was a beautiful flea-bitten grey 16-3. So he was big, but he was a really kind, beautiful, forgiving horse who forgave all the mistakes I made and taught me so much. So eventually it was time for Toba to retire, and we started looking for a horse that I'd be able to do a bit more eventing with, and we came across a horse locally called George. He was another 63 17-hound bay horse, and we started off at the very low levels of eventing, like the 80s, 90s, and then we progressed. We clicked really well, we progressed quite quickly, and we did the hundreds, the novices. We had a crack at intermediate, and we did a couple of international shows, including going to the international classes at Ask and Chatsworth Horse Trials. And then it was time for him to step down and do something a bit different. So then I have done a few other things through the past. We've had a couple of young horses that we've retrained, and then recently I've got an ex-race horse called Hartfell who has come from Kevin Frost Racing, and I'm really enjoying the retraining and starting from the very, very beginning with him. It's a really rewarding process, although very, very long. So at Bigelow Hall Riding School, which is just up the road from us, they did a Saturday afternoon pony club from 1 till 4, and I lived for Saturday afternoon pony club. So we had an hour of riding, an hour of stable management, and then an hour of active working on the yard. So that's where I managed to learn all sorts about general horse care and pony care. And then in the half terms or in the summer holidays they do like intensive camps where you just go for the whole day, and that was the dream for me. And that was the same sort of similar small routine, but it went all day and it was just the dream. I lived for it. So my biggest influence as a rider, my absolute hero growing up, or even before I had my own horse, was Mary King. I got her autobiography and I read it time and time again, from being about 12 to now I still even read it, and she really inspired me to get going with some eventing. And then at the time when I was growing up, Mary was on all the teams, she'd won a couple of 5-stars, and then she was at the London Olympics, so she was someone I could regularly follow, and she was always so lovely and smiley. And I did once meet her at an equestrian trade show when I was probably about 14, and she was my biggest inspiration. And then the lady who ran the yard where I had Toba on, she was called Judith Buckley, who'd previously evented to advanced level, had done all the VHS exams, she'd also show jumped to a good level, and she was great. I had a lesson with her every week, and she really got me going to ride properly, to be able to go out and compete and event, and she was a big part and still does play quite a part in my riding career now. So the discipline that I have really fallen into is eventing, and that obviously includes dressage, show jumping and cross country. So to be honest, with eventing you get a flavour of everything. So I also have regular lessons with my dressage coach, Melanie Turner, show jumping lessons with Judith or her son Simon Buckley, who is also an international show jumper, and cross country. And I've had lots of different help over the years from very many very good trainers, and that is the discipline I've decided. I love you've got to get it right, the 3 phases, but also the adrenaline of the cross country is the best. So these days my main focus is, I'm not quite as eventing focused, I stay more at the grassroots level and really enjoy that. And I've also been enjoying some show jumping as well as riding as much as I can with my local riding club, Lakes Riding Club. Also, in the last few years, I've been able to move into my own yard and set up a small equestrian livery business, doing a bit of teaching. People can have the horses on full livery with me, and that's really nice to be able to have a proper base to be able to enjoy my passion as well. So, growing up as a boy interested in horses, obviously it did come with its ups and downs at times, and I was generally the only boy at the riding school. But that was never really a problem, everyone was usually very friendly. And then sometimes you get the odd bit of teasing at school for it, but to be honest I love the horses so much that I really didn't care. And then I'd also looked at other men in the sport, show jumping, dressage and eventing, the likes of Carl Hester, Tim Stockdale, Nick Skelton, the Whitakers, in eventing William Foxpitt, Andrew Nicholson. There were many great male role models for you to look up to in the sports. So I was never really too bored. And as well, even within racing, there's a huge male presence, but it can be a bit tricky when you're first coming through school and the riding schools or pony club. Being the only boy can be a bit daunting. So although I'd stopped competing to a high level myself, I still really wanted to feel the rush of international horse sport. So I spent 2 years going to visit the Spanish Sunshine Tour, as well as helping with the press and media teams at Babington and Bramham International Horse Trials. It's been great to see the behind the scenes mechanics of top events running, and I've been able to help with press conferences, helping videographers and photographers, driving sponsors around and seeing the inner workings of top level international competition.